pounds. It's more than he's ever fought professionally at. In his last fight, he weighed 189, in which he beat a very good fighter, Steve Little, over a 12-round distance. This was in June of '97, but he has not fought since then. And we're just going to have to see how much rustiness James has and how much this weight, if it does slow him down, in fact, does inhibit his performance.
No question about the opponent level that Toney has fought as opposed to that which Terry Porter has fought.
Well, he certainly fought all the great the fighters in the division. I mean, he won the championship from Michael Nunn. He stepped up to 168 and won it from Iran Barkley, and what I think really was one of the real virtuoso performances of Toney's career. He was absolutely brilliant in that fight with Barkley. He hardly got hit. He showed all of his great defensive abilities that night. But he's a guy that's really multifaceted in the ring. He can be a good offensive fighter, good defensive fighter, so much talent there.
And then there are times he can just flat disappear. Well, speaking of disappearing, Terry Porter may disappear fairly quickly too.
6, 7, 8. How you doing? Give me your gloves, okay? Protect yourself.
Quick, short right hand.
Toney very much in punching range here, and he does have those short punches, as we mentioned.
The problem for Toney is if he continues to campaign at this style weight, cruiserweight and heavyweight, he's going to be a lot shorter than most guys. He's not going to be able to get this kind of punching room and get close to his opponents all the time.
He had Porter going backwards with a punch to the gloves. Right hand from Porter.
Yeah, Porter doubled up with that right, and I think surprised Toney a little bit. He blocked the first one, but the second one came from up top and got him.
Porter's a guy with 7 knockouts amongst his 11 wins. Scored a second-round TKO over a guy by the name of Gary Durer in Mississippi in his last fight.
That was just a couple of weeks ago, in fact. That's always good medicine is for Terry Porter is to fight Gary Durer. That's the 3rd time he's knocked him out in his brief career.
So 3 of the 7 knockouts. Have to wonder about Gary, though, don't you?
Terry Porter actually has some recognizable names on his opponent ledger. I mean, he lost a very close decision to Don Diego Porter, who's a very good fighter. And he was also stopped in 3 rounds by Ike Ibiabuchi.
Toney fighting, I think, voluntarily with his back to the ropes here. End of the first round. Big one for Toney. Here's the knockdown, Rich.
All right, James Toney scores it in the first round. Quick, crisp right hand. Barely traveled maybe 5-6 inches.
Fight Time on Fox is being brought to you tonight by Gerard Jones, is the other half of tonight's dance. In his mind, Wolfgram need worry about him. And by Honda Motorcycles, cruise in and get great financing on Honda Customs.
We have a very enthusiastic crowd, and a big crowd here at the Celebrity Theater in Phoenix, Arizona. We've been here a couple of times, Barry, and the fans are just very enthusiastic in this place. A good fight town, Phoenix.
Yeah, and a perfect location for the boxing, too. This is a theater in the round, normally entertainment facility, and it's not a bad seat here.
Right. The last seat in the house is 70 feet away from the ring.
So round number 2, Porter's going to have to find something. Took that short right hand from Toney, and it dropped him. Porter opens up here in the second round. Started to mention right about the time of the knockdown that Toney is a guy who has on occasion just disappeared, and at other times has just looked like a world beater.
And he's had some great fights when he was in that world beater class. I recall one, he fought a guy named Tim Littles at the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles. I was doing the international telecast that night for the fight, and I was positioned directly below Toney's corner. And between the 3rd and the 4th round, Toney was very badly cut in that fight. And the referee came over and he said, "Look, James, I'm going to give you 1 round, and that's it." And so the gauntlet was thrown at that point. He knew he had to go out and get Tim Littles, who was undefeated at the time, and he knocked him out in that next round. James Toney knows how to get down to business.
I had him in a fight against Murky Sosa back in 1991, and it was one of those fights, and at that time they were both on the rise. It was one of those fights that nobody won. Somebody lost, but nobody won.
Toney's always had a lot of heart. The only question about him, of course, has always been discipline in terms of making weight, getting down to weight. Now as he fights at a higher weight, of course, he won't have the same problems of worrying about getting to 168. He'll be a happier fighter.
Yeah. He does seem relatively fit, despite carrying 203 pounds.
James has always been a punishing hitter with both hands. Often overlooked, though, is his defensive ability. He's one of the finest practitioners of being able to take a punch on his shoulder, on his left shoulder, and then come right back and throw a punch out of that and score with the right hand. Blocks a lot of punches with that left shoulder.
Step around. That's what we're working on. Step around. That's it. Work around. Step around.
The man able to do much damage. There was a short left hand from Toney a little while ago, and Porter's got him with a couple of punches, but no damage in the second round. That's a left hand by Porter, and Toney comes right back with a pretty good uppercut.
Being on the ropes here, though, is allowing Toney to rest a little bit early in the fight. He's not being really punished along the ropes.
It's pretty much where he fought the first round also. So we come to the end of round number 2. Porter gets there with a left hand. Not a bad comeback round for Terry Porter. We're coming back.
Back home wants to talk.
We welcome you back. We come to round number 3. James Toney in the green trunks and Terry Porter in the black. And Porter might have decided that he's able to hang in there with Toney in that last round. Did a pretty good job.
He landed a pretty good combination right before the end of the round.
Come around.
Showed some speed of hand when he did land it. They're basically been nose to nose.
Two guys who obviously have come in here with the same game plan. James Toney being trained these days by a guy who was a pretty tough customer himself in his day. Freddie Roach down the corner of your screen there.
Yeah, he was a contender himself, a good fighter, exciting fighter. And he's proven to be a very good trainer, too. Takes an intelligent approach to it. Working with Toney here. He also handles, by the way, Lucia Riker, the very finest female fighter in the world. Maybe handles is the wrong word there. He's the trainer of.
I got it. Terry Porter really hanging in there fairly well, but out-muscled a little bit thus far.
Toney, despite the weight, is still showing speed of hand here, Barry. He's showing quickness with his punches.
Could be hoop Porter to try to take Toney into the later round, see if he really is as fit as he says.
James actually ballooned up to 250, 260 pounds in his time off. I was pointed out, one time somebody pointed him out to me at the fight, and I swear he was almost unrecognizable.
Yeah, I was with you, as a matter of fact. It was in Los Angeles.
That's right, yeah. He attends the boxing matches quite a bit, and it was a real shock to see him at the time. And you'd think, well, he'll never get down to any kind of fighting weight again, but he has. At least this is what he considers fighting weight, but maybe a little bit more. He's got pounds to lose and still remain a cruiserweight. He's actually fighting in the heavyweight division if you look at 203 pounds.
There's a right hand by Porter, and that seemed to stop Toney in his tracks. Porter's getting pretty brave here.
Yeah, he's landed some punches. And of course, it could be the style that the fight is being fought at here tonight is going to result in Toney getting hits on. Only other time he's fought over 200 pounds. He fought a guy named Richard Mason back in 1996. He won a 10-round decision, but he was very sluggish in that fight.
So we come to the end of the third round. Again, not a bad round for Terry Porter. We're coming back.
What you drive in.
We welcome you back. We start the fourth round. Terry Porter in the black, James Toney in the green. But Porter starting to work himself back into this fight a little bit.
Yeah, in close, he tries to flurry with Toney. You would think he looks as though he's a lot more long-armed than Toney, that he'd be better off from the outside, but he's elected to keep it an inside fight. Terry Porter didn't start boxing until he was 25 years old. He's 31 now, but he didn't even step in the ring until he was 25. And he was out of the military at that point, looking for something to do, and so he became a boxer, although he did do some kickboxing when he was stationed in Germany as a member of the military.
Porter's corner wants him to step to the left and then punch, and he did it a moment ago, and it's been effective when he has done so.
Toney said he just spent time out of the ring almost these 2 years to try and get his head together, get himself together personally. He has been known, of course, as a man who's had a temperament and a temper problem. And I think all those battles with Wade adds to that. He was, of course, managed by Jackie Callan early in his career, and actually not just early, but through his championship days and up through his fight with Roy Jones Jr.
Toney starts to open up Terry Porter a little bit here. This could come down to a conditioning fight, though. Toney clearly the stronger of the two.
But Toney is really a guy who knows how to break down a fighter. I think the time that he fought Prince Charles Williams was just a great example of that. Prince Charles Williams was a good fighter. He was in there almost at his best against Toney. They fought a grueling fight, and Toney, little by little, though, was breaking them down and finally got him and knocked him out in the last round, the 12th round.
Porter just covering up here. Toney doing all the work. Toney just a heavier-handed puncher than Porter.
He's a punishing hitter, Barry. Not a one-punch knockout puncher, but punishing. I mean, they thud and they add up.
Work, baby. Let's work. Gotta work. Come on. Let's go.
Porter still will get his share. Toney fights in spurts, and when he stops, Porter obliges by hitting him. End of the fourth round. We're coming back. We come to round number 5, Toney and Porter, and when Toney's working hard, he's being effective. When he relaxes, Porter pops him.
I still think Toney does enough to win every round. And again, he's working off a ring rust with every round that goes by. Remember when he fought Roy Jones, he had had such a terrible ordeal in losing the weight. And it's not to say Jones might not have won the fight anyway, the level that he was fighting. But really, Toney had nothing left when he got into the ring that night. He just had nothing against Jones.
Down in the corner of your screen, that is the fiancée of James Toney, and Jeanette Corelli, watching, needless to say, with a relaxed interest, thinking her man has this pretty well in control. High connect percentage for James Toney.
Come on. Where's your double? Where's your double, baby? Come on. Get with it. Get with it. You got to get with it. Come on. That's it. That's why when you get around the side, you can step one side or the other. Get with it.
And you made a point a little while ago about wearing an opponent down, and that's exactly what appears to be happening here.
Yeah, and Porter I think is feeling the effects of all those body punches, and he looks weary.
Porter laying on Toney a lot more than he was earlier. Toney just scoring at will. Every one of those punches is scored. Every one of those punches scored.
He's always been a very accurate guy, and he's looking to close the show right here, I think, Barry. And I think he's close to doing it.
He just has not missed a punch in this round. Again, 1, 2, both got there. And another left hand gets there.
So James Toney in his career as champion, not only did he score that what was then a shocking upset knockout of Michael Nunn, but he defended against guys like Reggie Johnson, who's currently light heavyweight champion, Mike McCallum, a great fighter in his own right, went on to beat, of course, Iran Barkley, as we mentioned. This guy's really fought and beaten most of the best.
Well, he has been tremendously effective in this round, and admittedly he's fighting a slowed down Terry Porter, but I'm not sure he missed more than 2 or 3 punches. We'll be back. We welcome you back. We come to the 6th round. Barry Tompkins, Rich Verrata. We're at the Celebrity Theater here in Phoenix, Arizona. Our first fight of the evening. It's in the cruiserweight division. The former middleweight, super middleweight champion James Toney against Terry Porter. And Toney right now really starting to wear his man down. Tremendously effective round in the 5th round, and it's seeming, Rich, that this is just a question of time.
It would appear that way, but Porter to me was wearing down badly at the end of that last round, and I watched his legs seemed a little bit shaky as he went back to his corner at the end of the round.
Toney again just simply not missing any punches. Porter really unable to do much now. He's laying in on Toney a lot.
Hoping to just catch him with a quick flurry of punches if he can, Barry.
Crowd trying to support Terry Porter, but Terry right now really looking the part of a beaten fighter.
Terry will need after this fight is another bout with Gary Pure.
That's right, exactly. Just to lift his spirits. And Toney playing possum a little bit here. Good left hand again and a double right hand. Look at that effectiveness. Porter says, come on. Toney obliges him.
At the lighter weights, of course, his opponents would have fallen by now.
Got there with a left hand.
Although he's still punishing, he won't carry the same power now at this weight that he did at 168. I think a great weight for James Toney would have been 175.
There was a left hand by Porter right at the top of the head of Toney, which did cause him to take a step back. But again, Toney will do this. Toney will just pretend like he's hurt and then come with a flurry.
Come on, baby. There you go. That's it. You want it now. Come on, baby. That's it. Line him up.
Porter, though,
Line him up. Let's go.
out there with another left hand.
Sit down. Bump your back. Show. Don't let him off. Step around. Come on, baby. Throw it. That's it. Throw it. Do it again. Come on, baby. Let's go.
Toney tried to get Porter out of there, couldn't do it. Now just kind of laying on the ropes. And there he opens up with the right hand. So the end of 6 rounds, and we'll remind you, of course, that still to come, our main event. Wolf Graham and Gerard Jones, they're going 10 rounds in the heavyweight division. Wolf Graham, of course, down to 289 pounds, never had fought below 300, either as a professional or as an amateur. He feels he's ready. He really feels this is the dawning His wife, Vanessa, in the crowd as always. Now, she'll be in the crowd now, but when they tee it up, Vanessa will be out somewhere in the wings. She can't stand to watch her husband fight. She'll get reports from people who will run in and out and kind of give her an update on how things are going, but she just can't stand there and watch it herself.
Well, Wolfgram, you mentioned 300, under 300. He's never fought under 315, which is where we saw him his last fight against Jorge Luis Gonzalez.
Shoulders, all right? You got a little bit lower and start rolling those shoulders. You hear me? Come on, son. Let's go out.
James Toney doing what he needs to do. This fight has not much been in doubt since the first round when Toney dropped Porter. I'm sure in his corner, too, they're saying, go ahead, get him out of there. Let's finish this thing. Let's go home.
Well, it's okay now, but in the long run, he gets a lot more out of going some rounds here, Barry, than he does. If Porter hadn't gotten up from that first round knockdown, that right hand that put him on the canvas in the first round, and it would have been a one-round blowout for James Toney, really what value would there have been in that, other than actually just climbing into the ring and getting the feeling, at least, of a fight? But here, at least, he's in a fight, and he's been forced to work, and he's throwing a lot of punches, and been hit a few times, so this'll work to his advantage in the long run.
Set that punch up, throw it. Let's go. That's it. Shoot him in there. Shoot him.
Well, Toney being every bit the cute fighter, and I don't mean that necessarily as a derogatory term. I think I probably would have always described him as a cute fighter.
Yeah, very clever. Knows a lot of tricks. And he will entice you into throwing certain punches or get you into angles so that you throw a certain way and so that he can punish you and make you pay for that mistake.
Come on, Kerry. Come on, Kerry. Get that body, Kerry. That's it. Go to the body.
Toney, as you said earlier, still with very quick hands despite the weight.
Let's go, Kerry. That's it. Right there. Right there. That's it. Right there. Under and up.
Terry Porter seems to have slowed down maybe even another step here in this round.
There had been some talk before that Larry Holmes and George Foreman situation, an ultimate fiasco, that James Toney was going to fight Larry Holmes in a comeback fight.
An interesting matchup. Two old foxes.
Come on, Kerry. Work the body, man. We're not working the body. Come on. Move your head, Kerry. That's the way you win. That's it. Move your head.
Interesting that Porter prefers an inside fight, Barry. I just don't think it works to his advantage. He's for more long arm. I would have tried to take advantage if I could have. Reach.
Come on. Come on. Don't wait on him to start.
I think you make a good point, though, that all his opponents, that is all of Toney's opponents, at this weight are not going to be the size of Terry Porter. He's going to get in there with some guys who have a distinct reach advantage. He'll try to stick and move on him, and that could give him a problem.
Yeah, they list Porter as 6'1". I think he's somewhat less than that.
Yeah, he doesn't look a whole lot taller than Toney. Toney at 5'9". It's not to say there haven't been some pretty good light heavyweights and cruiserweights that have been of that 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". It's not out of the question. Toney again just kind of driving the bus.
Hey, buddy. Yeah.
How come you're...
We welcome you back. Round number 8 upcoming. A little problem with the ropes, as you see right in the foreground there. Look at that gap between the second and third ropes. And that, especially in a fight like this, where the fighters have had their backs to the ropes on numerous occasions, probably a good idea for the referee to notice that.
It's almost like the old days when they had the 3 strands instead of the 4 as they do now, right, to prevent that kind of problem.
And the fight, of course, more of same as Toney doing pretty much what he wants at close range with Terry Porter, backhanded in there. Referee taking a very close look at Porter here.
See that shoulder of Toney, how he's moving it into a defensive posture? That left shoulder is what we talked about. A lot of times when he takes a punch right there, he just wings a right hand right after, shifting his body side to side.
Porter really looking like a beaten fighter right at the moment. Pretty rough in the nose and general swelling around his face.
Very little jabbing from Toney tonight. He hasn't had to follow a jab in to get close to his opponent, Barry, which he will against other heavyweights probably. He's not going to just be able to walk into a heavyweight and get close to him, or have heavyweights who are willing to go chest to chest with him.
Let him up, break.
You see, he just walks in. He hasn't had to use that jab at all.
Okay, let him up, break.
Good idea, probably, to get an opponent that will try to utilize the jab sooner rather than later. There's a huge left hand. That caught Porter wide open, and now it's all but over. It stopped right there.
That's all. No, that's it, man. That's all.
I think it's well stopped.
Too many shots.
That's it.
And he's taken an awful lot of punches here tonight from James Toney. And so a successful return to the ring for Toney. Not his most aesthetic performance, but keeping in mind the ring rust that he wears going into the ring, and the fact that he's fighting way at a heavier weight, getting accustomed to that, trying to adjust himself to that. All in all, a successful comeback.
Yeah, I think he did what he needed to do against an overmatched opponent. The fight, as we said, for all intent was over in the first minute when he had that flash knockdown, and after that, did pretty much what he wanted. Here's the finish.
All right, he was putting it on him right at the finish. You missed the left hook. It was just moments before that he had landed a major leg left hook, and then he just went into the corner, and Toney showing no mercy, and I think the referee, Roger Yanez, realized that. Here you see Toney working in close against him. Porter looking for something. There's that left hook. It's a beauty. And he threw it at the same time that Porter did. Toney has always excelled at that, being able to get out of the way of an opponent's shot while throwing a punch at the same time. And he went in. Roger Yanez said that's enough. And I think Roger's right. That was really a major league left hook, though.
And quick.
It's not really even a counter, Barry, as you see, because he starts the punch at the same time as does Porter.
Measured it perfectly. Couldn't have been better thrown. And then, of course, any good fighter knows how to finish, and he did exactly that. So we go to the center of the ring. Thomas Triber will make it all official.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the official time, 2 minutes, 9 seconds of the 8th round. Referee in charge, Roger Yanez, steps in and calls a halt to the bout with your winner by technical knockout, James "Lights Out" Toney.
Well, I think eventually he'd like to get another shot with Roy Jones Jr. at a higher weight than they fought before. Who knows if he can keep it going? Maybe someday he'll get the chance.
An impressive record, 56.